We are going to walk through the actual system to enroll clients. Once they're on the phone with you and you're in that space and in that place to offer them the opportunity to invest in your products, programs, and services and inviting them into their own transformation, that's where we are this time. So I'm really excited to go through this with you today. I think a lot of people put their emphasis on this conversation. And this system is important. I'm going to walk you through the formula that's going to make it easier. But the truth of the matter is, it really is the pre-work and the post-work that makes this an automated system. It really is everything you do before, everything you do to prepare, all the connections you make, your ability to inspire people into even having this conversation with you. So here we are, and we're in the conversation place, right? So today's lesson is the actual ICARE system. That is the system that I have been using and I've been teaching my clients for about the last 14 years of how to really engage their clients, inspire, motivate, create a framework where they can see the possibility for them to be something different, do something different, have something different. And now that I'm 14 years in, I of course have found a way for myself to develop this and to evolve it and to make it even more and more natural and more authentic. But it's still that same system from about, I say 14 years ago. I've been in business 14 years. This is probably 13 years ago that I actually created this and formalized it in a way that other people could replicate it. So what I'm so excited about for you is that you really can replicate the system. And if you are showing up to build your own client enrollment machine with some sales trepidation, with some fear around sales, with some uncertainty around sales, this is going to take a lot of that fear and worry and anxiety away, because it is a system. Now, you have to bring you to it. You have to develop it and perfect it to a place where it is natural for you and it really speaks of who you are and what you do. But the system is pretty foolproof. And if you use the system combined with attracting that ideal audience and doing all of your pre-work and your pre-offers and then bringing them in, you are going to be set up for success. This needs to be an organic, improvisational, natural call and response conversation. But it does help you in the beginning, and it helps you grow your ability to be more natural and be more at ease in your enrollment conversations. Okay, so ICARE system, what does that stand for? I'm going to tell you all that it stands for, and then we'll walk through it step by step. Inspire, clarify, ask, receive, embrace. That is the ICARE system. Inspire, clarify, ask, receive, embrace. And I'll walk you through each of those, and then we'll go on to what are the components and the parts that you are really wanting to make sure that you cover as you do that, okay? But I'm actually going to back you up at first a little bit, okay? So in the workbook, you're going to see the ICARE system, and then you're going to see the 4 layers of sales, and then you're going to see the checklist for the ICARE system. It's really important to understand where you are. You heard me use the term earlier in the sales cycle. So from the moment you prepare to meet someone, to meeting them, to getting them on your schedule, to having a conversation with them, to enrolling them, to having them become a client, that's all a sales cycle, and that is a journey you're taking the client on. So there's 4 layers of sales. Layer number 1 is selling them on even talking to you. Now, we've covered this in previous modules, right? We've covered this in the modules where we talk about what to say to people and how to create a freebie, and if you're speaking or you're networking or you're on social media, and how you set that up to actually invite them into even talking to you. That really is step 1 and the first layer of sales. The second layer of sales is what we're going to be covering in this module, and that's the actual sales conversation. People will call this comp sessions, discovery sessions, strategy sessions. Of course, we want you to name it like we told you to do in a previous module, a really hot name that has urgency to it. But I'm going to call it sales conversation, because that is the point of having people on your calendar, is that you help them, support them, but for the right people, you invite them to work with you, and that's the sales conversation. That's what we're going to talk about today. We'll also today talk a little bit about holding the sale. Now, what that means is once somebody says yes to you, the deal is not done. And there's an old sales saying that says time kills all deals. So from the time somebody says, yes, I want to do this, to actually being done, wrapped up with a bow on it, and they're a client, you want to tighten that up. I'm going to talk to you about that today. So that is the third layer of sales, which is holding the sale. And the fourth layer of the sale is an upsell or a resell. And that is if you're selling a 3-month package and they get to the end of 3 months, that's talking to them about what's next for them, right? Are you going to renew them into 3 more months? Or at that point, do you have a higher level program or a different program that would be appropriate for them? So you're moving them into the next program. So the 4 layers of sales, it's really important to kind of know where you are and where you stand in the sales cycle. First step, selling them to even talking to you. We've covered that. The actual sales conversation is number 2. We're doing that in this module. Holding the sale is number 3. We're going to do that in this module and a little bit in upcoming modules as well. And then the upsell or the resell will be in the 4th stage of your client enrollment machine, which is automate, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So knowing where you are in this process is important because you can now see, I hope you see a picture of that this isn't find somebody and make them an offer. This is really a nurturing journey where you are connecting with, you're identifying them, then connecting with them, then actually meeting with them, then enrolling them, then validating them and supporting them, and then supporting them through the whole process of what do you do when they're done, right? So that's where we are. So we're going to go back to that ICARE system now, right? Inspire, clarify, ask, receive, embrace. So what does this mean? Go back to the module before this when we were talking about what motivates people, what inspires people. This is where you're going to start your conversation. This is where you're going to start your conversation. Now, maybe I know many of you are different in here. Some of you are coaches, some of you are consultants, some of you are in totally different industries. It's all going to be about 90% the same for everybody. Just tweak it as you need to for your industry or for your particular profession. But you're going to start with inspire, and you're really painting a picture. You're painting a picture of what it is they want to get and what it is they want to get away from. So you might say, after reading your prep form or reading the information you sent me, right, I'd like to give you some feedback about what's possible for you, and I want you to tell me what you think is possible for you. Now, some people will not be able to do this. They can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So you have to bring that out for them. And then some people know exactly what it is they want, and that's awesome and that's great. And then you want to capitalize on that and support that, right? And then get it really clear for them so they have this inspiration, motivation picture in their mind, right? Then you're going to encourage their strengths. So show them why this is possible for them. You can absolutely do this because you've been working for corporate America for 15 years and you've had multiple promotions. You can do this. You raised 3 children. If you can raise 3 children, you can do this. So find something. This is the empathy piece. Find something in their story that's very relatable and shows them that they can get what they want. They can do this next thing. Acknowledge what they've accomplished. If you can do this, you can do that, right? If you have the ability to do this, that certainly is going to be what you need to get to this, right? And this whole point of this inspire piece is to get them excited about their future self or experience, right? It is to let them see, like, I don't have to live this way. I really can have this. And this is why I had you focus on what motivates, moves people, and inspires people, because when you know what inspires you, you have a better understanding of thinking about what inspires others. And that's going to be the first, right? There's 5 pieces to this entire enrollment conversation. That's going to be your first piece. Then you're going to move into clarify. Now this C could be for clarify, consult, coach, conversation, but this is where you really talk in tangible terms about what it is they need, and you show them some ways they can get there. So find out what the client wants most. Do not assume. Again, this goes back to that this isn't about you. This is about them. And I have so many people who go, what they need is, well, that's not what they need. That's what you think they need, or that's what you need. What is it that they need? So don't make any assumptions. Then make sure you're both on the same page of what that looks like. So verify with them. So what I'm hearing is you want to leave the job you're in now and build a business that makes at least $130,000 a year, right? But you want to be able to still spend time with your younger kids at home, right? Whatever that is, just verify you're on the same page for what that looks like, right? And then show them how that's going to change their life and give them some tips to get there. I'm combining these last two together. So show them how that's going to be different for them and show them how to get there. So this is where you do your consulting. This is where you do your coaching. This is where you do your energy work. This is where you do your whatever method or modality that you have. This is where you do that work. Now, here's a little tip. You cannot deep dive on this. You cannot, because you don't have time and you will overwhelm them. You want to pick one area that you can focus in on, that you can give them some great nuggets around, that you can give them some support around, that you can build the framework for how they could get going and how they could get started. But you can't give them everything. And it's not because you don't want to give them everything. This isn't about holding something back. That's some kind of sales BS that people say. It's because giving it all to them will leave them worse than you found them, because they'll be overwhelmed. They won't know what to do first, and they won't know where to start. So you want to really take them through the gateway, right? I always say there's like the doorknob, and then there's the doorway, and then there's the big room. The doorknob is that pre-offer in your freebie. Oh gosh, yeah, that is my problem, and I'd love to figure out how to do that. The doorway is this enrollment conversation. So here's a way to start. Like, you can start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then enrolling in your products, programs, and services is walking in to the house, right? It's the fullness of the house and every room and everything you need to get there. So that's inspire. Then we have clarify. We're going to move to ask. This is the part that's going to freak most people out. This is when I have to make the offer. What do I say? What's the script? What's the transition? Remember the keys that we've talked about in sales conversations and enrollment conversations. It's just honesty. It's just being supportive. It's asking real curious questions. Many times I'll say, so we talked about you doing this. You can see how you could do this. So is this a path you could see yourself going down? Well, yeah, I could. Are you ready to do this? Yeah, I am. Well, we know that doing it alone isn't the best way to do it. And so I'd love to do it with you. And I want to talk to you about what that would look like. It doesn't have to be scary, complex, or some sales script. It truly is a natural, caring conversation. So in the ask, discover what's keeping them from where they want to be. You can do that before you get to the actual ask of your products, programs, and services. You want to uncover their fears. You want to know, why haven't they done it yet? What do they feel like has kept them from doing it? And you want to ask them to be really bold, to be courageous. Say, I know you haven't gotten there yet, and this is the reasons you think you haven't gotten there, but are you really ready to do it? Are you ready to step up and step out and make it happen? And then be really curious about what's present for them in their life as you step into making the offer. And again, I'll give you a couple examples of an offer. If you went to the doctor and you had a headache and your head was killing you, and you went and you saw the doctor and he said, okay, yep, man, I see you have a headache and I can see what's going on for you. He wouldn't say, okay, yep, I know what's going on for you. Thank you. You'd be like, well, tell me what's going on. What do I do? And that's what your clients are going to be doing if you don't offer them the next step. So you can simply say, okay, do you see that you can do this? Right, we talked about that this could happen. So do you want to know what your next step is? How easy is that? They're going to say, nobody's going to say, no, I don't. They're going to say, yeah, I do want to know what my next step is. And you're going to say, great. Your next step would be to step into my blah, 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 because it's going to get you this and it's going to get you this and you're going to have support, right? And then you just talk about the benefits and the features of your offer. What are benefits? Benefits are what you're going to get at the end of this. So at the end of this, you're going to drop the weight that you're wanting to lose without exhaustive dieting, and you're going to keep it off forever. So at the end of this, you're going to be out of that day job and have started a business. So at the end of this, you are going to stop being triggered, right? You're going to stop being triggered by your relationship, and you're going to have a happier, healthier home life. At the end of this, you're going to get a promotion, right? You're going to not continuing being looked over. So you show them, go back to our first few modules, that tangible thing they're going to get at the end of working with you. And then it is simple as, I'm really ready to get started with you. What do you think would work best for you? A payment plan? Or would you like to pay in full and save some? Right? Very simple. And then they're either going to be like, yeah, I'm really ready. And you're going to take their information, or they're going to have some objections. So that moves us into the R of receive. You've got to be an incredible listener. Don't listen to what your fears are. Listen to what their fears are or what they're saying. So they are either going to say, yep, I'm ready, and you're going to receive their credit card information, or they're going to say, I'd love to do this, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I have the money. I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if my spouse will let me. So you really want to hold their dreams, needs, and desires above your agenda. And you really want to understand what they're saying and what they're not saying. And this might be a place to share about yourself in a useful way. So in other words, you might say, I get it. I remember when I hired my first life coach, and I wasn't happy in my job. I knew I wanted to do something different, and I didn't really have the money to invest in it, yet I was miserable in my job. And I remember when she told me it was going to be $300 a month, she might as well have said $3,000 a month. But I also asked myself, how willing am I to be miserable for how long? And what if I just changed my life, just a few things where I could come up with the investment to do this every month? And I think that's where you are, Sally, right? You just want to share about yourself in a useful and honest way so they can see, or maybe it might be another client that's been in an exact situation they have, and you want them to be able to see that. Now, if they can't get there, and it truly is a hard objection. So first of all, let me say this. If they give you a hard no, if they say, nope, I'm not interested in doing this, this isn't what I thought it was, if they are a hard no is not an I'd like to, but a hard no is not an I don't know. A hard no is not I'm just not sure. Those are all people who are actively engaged in questioning if they should do this. A hard no is absolutely not. I have no interest. I don't connect with you. I didn't know what this was. I don't want to do it. I'm never doing this. And if that's it, you embrace their hard no and you move on. But if it's a yes, but, and that's going to be, so about out of the 100% of people you talk to, 10% are going to be a hard no. About 50 to 60% are going to be a yes, but I want to do this, but there's a problem. And about 30 to 40% are going to be a yes. And you still may have to help them a little along the way, but you'll get there and they're a yes. If they're a yes, but you want to go back to inspiration and you actually start, you see this as a circle, look in your workbook. You start the inspiration over again and say, okay, so you said you would absolutely do this if you had the money. So if you had the money, what would it look like? If you knew exactly where to get the money, and you repaint that picture and you do a little coaching with them and you get back to the ask, right? So you have to remember that you really do get into the role of having to be a money coach. The biggest objection will be money for everybody. And you've got to learn to show people the value of, okay, how much is it going to cost you to not do this? Right? And when people say they need time, they don't actually need time. This is a big sales ding, 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 ding. They actually don't need time. They need more information. So if somebody says, I just need a little more time on this, you can say something like, in my experience, I found that people actually don't need any more time. Like, what would time give you in this decision? But that usually means they feel like they don't have enough information to make a decision. So what do you feel like you don't know yet that I could share with you that would help you make a decision? Now, here's another sales tidbit, everybody. Your job is not to get a yes. Your job is not to get a yes. Your job is to get them to make a decision. If it's a no, that's fine. If it's a yes, that's great. But staying in the maybe doesn't help them. It doesn't serve them. So after you receive their answer, you've worked through objections with them, and you may have to go through a couple of different objections. You get to the embrace. Celebrate their possibilities. So if they're saying yes, celebrate with them, validate with them, reassure them through a compelling story or a client example. Explain any exciting details of the program that maybe weren't important when you were talking, but you're like, the first thing that we're going to do is, and that's kind of the last tip here, always book the first step right there on the call. Book their first session, right? Book their first call. Let them know they're going to get their a form to fill out this afternoon. Always make sure they know what the next step is. People want to understand what the next step is. Now, if you need to follow up with them, and we're going to cover follow-up in the next module, you want to embrace that follow-up, and here's a really important piece of this process that I do not want you to miss. If you're going to follow up with them because of something specific and you want to get them to something specific, I want to, speak with my spouse. I think I want to painful, but I want to check some financial things. I want to look up something, whatever it is. You want to say, great, when will that be complete for you? And if they go, well, today's Monday, I should be able to do it tomorrow. Say, wonderful, I have a session open tomorrow at 5 p.m. Let's reconnect then. Time kills all deals. So the longer you let this go, the longer the chance that you're not going to enroll this person. So that's why your job is to help them make a decision, not to get them to say yes, but to get them to move into a decision. Ideally, that decision is a yes or a no if they're not right for you and you're not right for them. It's not as ideal to follow up, but it's really not ideal to say, let them follow up a week later or 2 weeks later, or right? If they're going to follow up and they're engaged in the process, you want the follow-up to happen now. You want it to happen now. Okay. Folks, that's the enrollment process. I want to keep it ESS, easy, simple steps. Don't overthink this. Where you will get amazing at this is in the practice. I want you to do as many sales conversations as you can, even with unideal clients, messy, not exactly ready, you scared to death, whatever it looks like. But I want you to do as many as you can, because this is where you will find your flow. This is where you'll find, this line just works beautifully for me when I say, so tell me what your first step is going to be after we leave this call. And you let them answer, and then you say, okay, let me tell you what I see as your next step after that. And then you can invite them into the conversation. That's it, folks. It doesn't have to be any harder than it is, but here's the deal. It does take consistency, and it does take volume, and it does take practice. And it takes follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. So I'm going to go and I'm going to let you study the ICARE system.